I won't let go. I'll speak to you gently of what I know. Don't you cry. Lay your head down, darling. The moon is sailing by. The stars are softly shining. The tide is full and high. We'll fly to the edge, not as distant as it seems, and maybe we'll find there the key to your dreams. So you just lay your head down, darling. Sleep now, la 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 la. Winds blow, rains fall, but it's warm by the fire's light. Hush, don't you see? You're here with me, and it's dawn at the end of the night. Lay your head down, darling. The moon is sailing by. The stars are softly shining. The tide is full and high. We'll fly to the edge, not as distant as it seems, and maybe we'll find there the key to your dreams. So you just lay your head down, darling. Sleep now, la 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 la. Lay your head down. Lay your head down. Sing to me softly your tales of woe. I'll cradle you closely. I won't let go.
Welcome to the MYS Virtual Hangout. Here's your host, MYS Music Director, Raul Gomez.
Good afternoon, MYS students and families and friends in Portland and around the world. It's time for another MYS virtual hangout. And you guys, we have a great show lined up for you. I'm so excited. Suzanne Nance, the president and CEO of All Classical Portland, is our featured guest today. And she's going to be joining us in just a few minutes over Skype. In the meantime, I have just a few things to share with you. The first one of them being that registration is open for Metropolitan Youth Symphony's 2020-2021 season. This is for current MYS students, and for new MYS students, you can go to our website, playmys.org, and get registered for next year. As you know, we have 14 ensembles, orchestras, bands, jazz, percussion, an amazing team of conductors. And MYS is just a wonderful community of young musicians and coaches and teachers making music together and inspiring one another. And I'm I feel very lucky that I'm a part of this community. And speaking of MYS, we have a very exciting virtual concert coming up at the end of this month on May 30th at 7 p.m. Everybody get online and you're going to experience a live event like no other. We're working on this. Every single MYS ensemble is creating a virtual performance. Our young musicians are all recording at home their pieces for the groups. We have created click tracks. We're doing Zoom rehearsals. We're working really hard to make sure that all of our students can record themselves, and then we're going to put all of those recordings together. And each ensemble is going to have a virtual performance. It's going to be a really exciting live event. I'm going to be hosting. MYS conductors are going to be on the show introducing the pieces, and then we'll premiere each of these videos made by our students. So that's on May 30th. I'm just so excited about it. It's because we're not getting a traditional end of season, and we're not getting a traditional end of the school year for all of our students. And I mean, think about our seniors also. It's just it's very different, but we can make it just as exciting by coming together through music, and in this case, through a virtual performance. And I'm going to be interacting with people in the comments, and it's going to be a really, really joyful event. So please add that to your calendars. May 30th, 7 p.m. And the best way to tune in is go to our Facebook page or go to our YouTube channel, make a reminder for yourself, and join us in that celebration of music and joy and talent. Now, generally at MYS we have live auditions for new and returning students, and everybody comes to us and we hear the auditions that are necessary to place students in the ensemble that's the best fit for them. This year we will not have live auditions. All of the auditions are going to be done via video. And a friend of MYS, and who's also an MYS parent, he has a child in our program, he was generous enough to create a video for us with tips about how to make a successful video. And this is good for your auditions for MYS, but this is also good for the videos that our students are going to be making for these virtual performances. So I'm about to play this video for you for the first time. We're going to premiere this video live on this show, and then at 5 p.m. Pacific, so in less than 1 hour, it's going to be up on our YouTube channel. Okay, so check this out. This is a great video by Patrick Cummings with tips for a successful at-home video recording. Check it out.
Hello musicians, I'm Patrick. Mr. Gomez asked me to give you some tips on how to make your videos look as good as they can. This can help you for the virtual performances and for any virtual auditions you have coming up. I hope this helps. First, it's important that your recording device can stand by itself, be steady, and that you can play without worrying about it. If your phone or tablet are on your music stand, it can get shaky if you have to turn the pages. A small stand like this can be very helpful. It can hold your device holder and your microphone if you have a separate one. If getting a stand and a phone holder and all that isn't an option, don't worry about it. There are tons of things around your house that you can use to secure your camera. You can use a binder clip to stabilize your camera on a tabletop. You can use the base of a vinegar and baking soda rocket ship to secure your camera. You can use one of your collector Hello Kitty water glasses. You can use a little picture frame holder. The point is, just have a nice stable shot. How you get there is up to you. Framing yourself in the shot is very important. Being able to see both you and your instrument is critical. Try to have your camera as close to eye level as you can, whether you're sitting or standing up. Upshots are not very flattering, and getting a good shot of your ceiling is less important than seeing you play the song. Give yourself some room to move in the frame. Put the camera far enough away from you that if you move while you're playing, you're still in the shot. The space between the top of the frame and the top of your head is called headroom. Give yourself a little headroom, but don't overdo it. Too much headroom fills the space with a bunch of stuff we don't care about. We'd rather see you. For instruments that are played vertically, like the cello, it's good to turn your camera so that it records you vertically. We don't have a cello. For instruments that play more horizontally, it looks better to turn the camera horizontally. Sometimes your practice space is not very big. That's okay. Just get the camera as far back as you can to see your whole instrument and you in the shot. Just do your best. Lighting is very important also. Cameras that come on phones and tablets adjust for light automatically. I'm sure you've seen that when you sit with your back to a window, you appear very dark compared to the background. To avoid this, use any big light source, like a window, as your key light and face that direction if possible. Get that light on your face, not on your back. If you can, a small LED light can be found online for very cheap and will really help the look of your videos. This one's small, it's light, and it's not very expensive. It runs on battery or you can plug it in. And it'll match the color of daylight. It'll match the color of daylight or indoor light bulbs. Pretty neat. You can use lights you have on hand also. Just do your best. For better quality sound, adding a high quality microphone to your setup is a good idea if you could invest in one. It's important to stress, the microphone that you have on your device is totally good enough. Just be somewhere very quiet and you're definitely going to get a good recording. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Break a leg, and I can't wait to see all the videos you guys make.
Thank you, Patrick, for this great video. And like I said, this is going to be on our YouTube channel starting at 5 p.m. Pacific today. So feel free to share it with any MYS student you know, or with any young musician who needs to make a video at home. And well, without further ado, let's go ahead and call Suzanne into our show. She should be standing by on Skype, and let's give her a call. Hello, Suzanne. Great to see you. Let me put you up on the screen. Can you hear me now? I can hear you. Okay, let me troubleshoot that real quick. And in the meantime, I'll make sure that we can all see you. Always takes a little magic. Okay. Here we go. I'm talking. Now
I'm glad you can hear me, but I really want to hear you.
So no good yet?
You can hear me, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Let's see. What do I need to do?
It's all part of the magic.
Let the record show we did test this and there was no problem. Audio video settings are there.
Yeah, let's see. I know what's happening. Okay, you should be able to hear me now.
I can hear you.
There you go. Okay. Oh, good. So all systems are go.
Yes.
Awesome.
I can hear you.
Now
Yes.
we can hear each other. We can see you. Suzanne Nance, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so happy to see you, and I've been loving your virtual hangouts, and I feel so honored to be with you today.
Oh, well, the honor is ours. And in celebration of this occasion, I'm wearing my favorite hat.
You're amazing. I love it. It's beautiful. It suits you.
Well, thank you. And I actually do love this hat. I love the color of it. It's light,
We
it's
designed,
happy.
we designed it just for you and your passion and all that you bring to music in our community. We said, Raul needs this hat.
You know,
It's gotta be.
that's what it felt like when I got it. I put it on, and I had this feeling this was made for me.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, yes.
Well, Suzanne, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. As you know, this is a show that we do for Metropolitan Youth Symphony students. You know, almost 600 of them and their families and their friends and their communities. And you and All Classical are such important, you know, your presence in this community is so important. We're so thankful to have you here. Now, let me ask you my first question right away. Okay,
Okay.
because I know you get to interview lots of people, right? So I'm glad to be kind of
It's very strange to be on the other side.
changing roles here. So it's a very simple question. When Suzanne Nance was, say, 7, 9 years old, did Suzanne Nance say to herself, one day I am going to be the president and CEO of a major classical music station?
You know, I didn't say that. What I said was, I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be, you know, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, and I had my little brush, my hairbrush, and I just went all around the house singing into my little brush. I knew that I wanted to use my voice, you know, and I loved the way the voice affected people or told stories, engaged in conversation. And so I knew that it would involve my voice, and I was really clear about that. I think by the time I was 10, I thought I would be a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Talk about using your voice, you know, and I thought, yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. And then singing just kept finding me, and music, thank everything, the universe, God, I thank it all, because I ended up, you know, pursuing music, and it has been such an amazing life because of it.
And you're still very much active as a soprano, and you are going to gift us with a live performance a little bit later. So we're all looking forward to that. Where did you grow up?
I grew up just outside of Philadelphia.
Okay. And when you know, going to school as a kid, were you in the school choir, or were you, what sort of music, organized music making was part of your life then?
You know, an interesting story. I actually was a cheerleader, and I was a cheerleader, and my friends were like, I just had the greatest friends, and they dared me. They knew I loved to sing, and they dared me. They said, you should go and try out for the High School Musical. You know, you need to do that. And I was like, geez, I don't know, what would I sing? So there I was on the stage, and you know, the music director sitting there, and I said, I don't know what to sing. And he said, sing Happy Birthday, you know, Happy Birthday to you, you know, and I just started singing, and he said, great. He shut his book, and then the list went up on the wall, and I got the lead in the school musical. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I went home and I told my mom, I said, I got the lead in the school musical. My mom said, you know, you really have to sing, and you really have to be like in music. And I said, well, I've been a singer my whole life, and now I get to do it, you know, on stage. And so that's really how it started. And I'll tell you what, my high school choral teacher, because we were all required to have choir, but I wasn't necessarily in the choir. His name was Mr. Gortz, and he took me under his wing, and so did the musical theater department, and the high school principal. You know, he would always be there, Mr. Bailey, and really they nurtured me, and they really did support me in singing, and it was amazing.
Was that first musical your first time also performing on stage? Did you have any acting already in your experience?
No, not really. That was really the first time. You know, the only other experience I had was, you know, like I said, in my bedroom with my brush, you know, and like.
Were you nervous?
You know what? I really felt like I had found home. You know, I really felt like I had found my place. You know, and being around the other students on the stage with me, I felt like I also found people that got me. You know, in addition to my friends who were, you know, in cheerleading and track and field, now I was with people who understood theater. and drama and music. And a whole new world opened up for me.
Do you stay in touch with any of those friends from your high school musical years?
I do. And in fact, one of my high school friends moved out to Portland, Oregon, Josh Kramer Montez, not too long ago. And so I have this connection with my high school friends and people who were involved in those things even now. And it's fun to look and see where everybody's at. You know, I think once you're in a group like that, like MYS, you're connected forever.
Yes, and that's one of my absolute favorite things about what we do. And I was talking to somebody about this just this morning, that to this day, some of my closest friends are my youth orchestra friends.
Yes.
Precisely because of the reasons you're describing. You're surrounded by people who share your biggest passion.
Yes. Yes. And that's so important, isn't it? It's just so great.
Yeah, and to just be with these people, and of course, and we all miss doing this in person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To
Yes.
be with people in a room, just doing something as magical as making music together is something that creates lifelong bonds.
Yes. And I think about it now. It's funny because you mentioned, being president and CEO of this radio station. And did I imagine that when I was 7? The truth is, when music became a bigger part of my life, I really learned what it is to connect with people and to collaborate and to have this sort of cognitive thinking that was missing in by and large, in other parts of my life. So this musical experience and what you're providing at MYS and your amazing young musicians, this is life changing. It's so important, and it will change how you do what you do, no matter what it is you pursue in life.
That's so true. And Suzanne, one of our viewers, Amy, is asking, which show were you on? What was that first musical?
Yeah. So first show was Pippin.
Oh, such a good one.
Great show. And then I did The Music Man next year. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Uh, and Pippin is not. I'm not a singer, obviously, but I love Pippin. But it's probably not an easy musical to sing or perform, and there's a lot of physical, like, you know, activity in it. It's basically a performance troupe, right, or a cirque.
Yeah, it was definitely, it wasn't like doing, Oklahoma or Hello Dolly. It was so interesting, and I didn't know any better. So for me, this is just what it was. I dove straight into Pippin, and I had a lot of catch-up work to do. I had taken piano in grade school, but I wasn't a great pianist, so I could plunk out notes, but I had to catch up, and I loved the challenge of diving into that musical and getting it together, and then showtime. It was so magical.
I love the ending of Pippin.
Oh, yes, right. Yeah, yeah.
It's magical. And if MYS students, if you're watching this and you don't know this musical, check it out, because it's really a masterpiece. I think it's worth experiencing. If not live, at least you can find a video or something. So when did you start? So did you have any kind of interest in public speaking or broadcasting at the same time? When did that start for you?
Well, I ended up studying music at Syracuse University, and I found out that they had an amazing communication school. And so I was in the music school, and I thought, geez, that's a renowned communication school. I should try and get a degree there too. And so I went in, and they said, no, actually, the music degree is so rigorous. We don't usually let them, dual major or do something in communications. But I kind of just kept knocking on the door, like you have to do in any part of your life. You just have to keep knocking and saying, really, can I try? And they eventually let me do another degree in communications. So that was my first experience with communications, radio, TV, film, marketing. And I always thought, Raul, that I was going to end up on the Metropolitan Opera stage. So that was just going to be tucked in my back pocket. But it turns out it moved into my front pocket. And when I graduated, I ended up getting a job with the Opera Company of Philadelphia. And it was entry level. I did everything I could to help support Opera Company of Philadelphia, taking my voice lessons. And of course, becoming an opera singer, it takes a long time. You know, you're about 35 before you're mature. And so I had a long time to go and to incubate. So I was working at Opera Company of Philadelphia, and then WHYY, which is where Fresh Air with Terry Gross is made, they called me and said, you know, we're looking for someone to do what you do at the Opera Company for WHYY. Without realizing they were trying to recruit me, I gave them all these names, and then finally I said, oh, I want that job. So I went to work for WHYY, and it was actually Terry Gross, Fresh Air. I was doing like a little voiceover, and she said, you should really think about this. And I'm like, thanks, Terry Gross.
That is so cool.
Oh yeah, well, she planted the seed, and I was really, really lucky that I ended up at WHYY because it started everything for me. I kept singing, but then radio and television kept finding me, and I eventually made the switch to have that be the number one priority. And you know, knowing that I could go on the radio and talk to tens of thousands of people at once, and then go and sing, you know, down the street at a little concert hall for 250 people and be fulfilled in sharing music.
Yes, and I want to go deeper into that. But before we go there, let's hear you sing.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
I'm so excited. And you're so generous to have offered not one, but two selections that you're going to be singing for us. And will you kindly introduce those and take it away whenever you're ready?
I'd love to. So they're two very short pieces. The first is Something Good by Richard Rodgers from The Sound of Music. And, you know, I thought about a simple piece of music that just makes me feel good. And I know that The Sound of Music makes a lot of people feel good, especially when times are a little bit challenging or uncertain. So I wanted to share this simple piece with you. And then I'd like to sing an Irish song called Love's Old Sweet Song, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that after Something Good.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. My husband is accompanying me, but he's very shy for the camera, so you'll see his hand.
Good to see you. Thank you for playing.
It's like Pippin all over again.
I know.
Perhaps I had a wicked childhood. Perhaps I had a miserable youth. But somewhere in my wicked, miserable past, there must have been a moment of truth. For here you are standing there loving me, whether or not you should. So somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good. Nothing comes from nothing, nothing ever could. So somewhere in my youth or childhood, I must have done something good.
Yay! Get your emoji applause from everybody.
Thank you. You know, it's funny because I did an interview for Maine Public, which is an NPR affiliate, years ago, and I interviewed a 7-year-old girl named Brookie, and I asked her, what piece of music makes you feel good? And she said, well, my family and I watch The Sound of Music, and we make popcorn and we make lemonade, and I'll tell you what, I feel so good watching that movie with my family. And Maria has a way of making everything seem better. when things feel a little rough. And I'll never forget that, Brookie has inspired so many things in my life, and it's just the truth.
Yes, and that's so sweet.
Yeah, so this next piece, I actually discovered this piece because of a local restaurant, TC O'Leary's in Northeast Portland. Tom O'Leary is Irish, and he does an annual Bloomsday celebration on June 16th for James Joyce. And he asked me would I pop in and sing Love's Old Sweet Song, which is used in the novel Ulysses. And I said, I don't know it, but I'll learn it. And I did. And this is the song.
Awesome. Thank you.
Once in the dear dead days beyond recall, when on the world the mists began to fall, out of the dreams that rose in happy throng, lo, to our hearts love sang an old sweet song. And in the dusk, when twilight fell the gleam, softly it wove itself into our dream. Just a song at twilight, when the lights are low, and the flickering shadow softly come and go. Though the heart be weary, sad the day and long, still to us at twilight comes love's old song, comes love's old sweet song. Even today we hear love's song of yore. Deep in our hearts it dwells forevermore. Footsteps may falter, weary go the way, still we can hear it at the close of day. So till the end, when life's dim shadows fall, love will be found the sweetest song of all. Just a song at twilight, when the lights are low, and the flickering shadows softly come and go. Though the heart be weary, sad the day and long, still to us at twilight comes love's old song, comes love's old sweet song.
Yay! Brava!
Thank you. Oh,
And thank you and bravo to your mystery collaborative hands piano.
Early.
Thank you. Thank you to both.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
He's a harpsichordist, and I set up this little keyboard, so it's a compromise. But he's a conductor like you and composer, so very lucky we can make music together.
Awesome. Yeah. And these two selections too, they're so nice and so they go so well together, and such sweet music on a beautiful Pacific Northwest afternoon.
Yes.
But also in the middle of everything we're going through right now. So thank you for that.
Thank you for asking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, there is a game that we play with our guests on this show, and that is Two Truths and a Lie. And if you're watching for the first time, Suzanne has sent us 3 statements. 2 of them are true statements. 1 of them is a lie. And we're going to have... Do you have those with you?
I do.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to have you read those, and I'm going to put them up on the screen as you read them. And if you're watching, your job here is to vote for which of these statements you believe is a lie. And through this, we'll get to know you a little bit better. So
Hey.
let's hear statement A.
Okay, statement A. I landed a plane when I was 7 years old.
Okay, that's up on the screen. Let's hear statement B.
Statement B. Soprano Jessie Norman gave me my big break in radio.
Very good. And statement C.
I studied cooking at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, France in 2005.
Very good. And all three of them masterfully delivered.
Thank you.
So, if you're watching, let's see your votes. Which one of these is a lie? A, B, or C? And Suzanne, we have a really good question here. A couple of great questions in the comments. Let me read the first one.
Okay.
It says, question for both. I hear you both talking about having mentors in music early on, access, and diverse kinds of music. Would love to hear your individual takes on diversity and inclusion in music. I think this is an excellent question, and I know a lot of the work that you guys do at All Classical address these issues.
Yeah, it's a great question. And in 2017, we launched a program called Joy. Joy is outreach to you and youth. And we, through that program, launched a high school mentorship program. And in fact, maybe some of your musicians would be interested in joining us. It's a arts journalism mentorship program. We pair up each journalist, young journalist, with one of our hosts, and they mentor them in the art of storytelling. We did that so we could ensure that different voices were on the radio. We believe everybody should have access to this music. Everybody should have a seat at the table, and everyone should have the microphone shared with them. So that's a big part of what we're doing at All Classical Portland. We're also gearing up to launch a new recording project. We feel there are many composers who have been underrepresented for centuries in classical music. And so some of those recordings we simply can't play because they don't exist. So we are going to make our own recordings. We're going to partner with a recording studio, and we're going to be asking our local musicians and artists to make those recordings so that we can hear more diverse compositions and recordings on our airwaves. We're very committed to ensuring that there's diversity and inclusivity at All Classical Portland. And I believe that, all music is good music, right? Like it's just, for me, all different kinds of genres play a role in my life. And I believe in the intersection of classical music with other genres as well. And so, yes, it's a very important part of what we do at All Classical Portland. And I think together, especially working with people like you, Raul, we're going to change the industry.
It's exciting, isn't it? And one of my favorite things about All Classical is that anybody can just tune in and listen to great music, and not only in Portland, but anywhere in the world through your website. And, inclusion and access is everything,
Yeah.
And at the Metropolitan Youth Symphony, we're also always working actively to provide that access to any young musician who wants to play a musical instrument.
Yeah.
And we've, followed the example, and we're inspired by organizations such as All Classical, the Oregon Symphony, and so many others here in town. We're so lucky in Portland that we have so many people working together to make sure that kids of all backgrounds have access to music. And when it comes to, exposure and celebrating the work of composers that are sometimes underrepresented, we also share that passion by commissioning works by young composers, by featuring masterpieces of orchestral music written by composers that have been traditionally underrepresented. And our goal is it's what you're saying. There's so much great music of all different kinds, and what we all want is for as many people as possible to enjoy that and partake in the joy that comes from just listening and making music together.
And you hit the nail on the head with access, and that's what we believe in at All Classical. You just have to turn on the radio. And so there's an equal playing field, right? Everybody can tune in. I started Sunday Brunch, which is the radio show on Sundays, and the tagline is exploring culture through delicious music. And it's really, the idea is that we have this giant table. All Classical Portland is the table, and everybody's welcome. Everybody can show up and just be there and partake in the feast of classical music. And it really is a joy. And, we also launched a children's network, I Can.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's all about breaking down barriers and promoting emotional literacy for our young people. So there's a lot going on, and there is access, and that's what we need to do together. And that's what you do so well at MYS too.
Can we talk about ICANN? This is the International Children's Arts Network. How long has this been out in the world, and how did it get created?
Yeah, we launched it 1 year ago. We just had our first birthday, and thank you. We launched it in April 2019, realizing that there was a deficit for children, especially 0 to 12. Where could they find safe radio content, audio content that would be 24 hours? So we started it, and at first it was 12 hours of content. We expanded it to 24 hours just this past month, and we really did have fun and put a lot of thought into creating what we would put on this new network. Poetry from around the world, stories from around the world. There's a global dance hour. There's lullabies throughout the night. And these are lullabies from everywhere you can possibly think of, from Nigeria to Japan. It's all there. And so we took a risk. We said, geez, this is a big undertaking. I recruited Sarah Zwinklis from Chicago to come and produce it. And she has been bringing in kids, and we look forward to when we can do this again. But she's been bringing in kids to record the introductions themselves. So we'll have someone who's 10 years old saying, this is Beethoven, this is what I love about it, and then the piece plays. So it's kid hosted a lot of the time, children hosting, I should say, and it's a beautiful tapestry of various cultures and music, and it's really, really fun and inspiring. And a lot of teachers are using it right now to supplement, a lot of parents to supplement the homeschooling that's happening. So it's been wonderful to be able to provide that resource, especially at this time.
And how can folks listen? How can they tune in?
Yeah, the best way to tune in is icanradio.org.
And if you go to the Old Classical website, also there are links there, and there's more information. It's such a great idea, and now that my wife and I have a little kid, it's something that we definitely enjoy. So.
I'm so glad. Well, and since I've been watching you do all these interviews and all this hosting, I'm thinking we might have to get Raul in to be doing some interviews for us. I mean, I think we've got a whole new career here.
Hey, I'm there. I love see, it's just so fun to just talk to great people. And that's actually one of the things I want to talk to you about. And I was going to get to this later, but you've interviewed tons of people in your career. What have been some of your most memorable interviews? I know that's probably a very hard question, but...
Oh, geez, it's really hard because I enjoy interviewing so much, and I enjoy just getting to know people and shining a spotlight on their artistry. So it's really hard. I've interviewed everyone from Renee Fleming, which was a great interview. I remember that interview actually. We were supposed to talk, and then there was a huge snowstorm. And so here I am, a budding soprano, and I get to talk to my hero. And there's a snowstorm that takes out every single satellite in Maine. I was in Maine at Maine Public, one of my favorite places in the world. And I'm like, I've got this Renee Fleming interview, and I know that if it doesn't happen at this time, it's not going to happen again because our schedule is so jam-packed. So I called up another radio station in town, and I was like, I hear you guys are the only ones on the air. Can I come in? Would you do this for me? Can I come in? And they said yes. And so I went into this radio station, which was going from, NPR, an NPR affiliate station, to this hot, 106.9. And I walk in the door and I was like, yes, it's hot. Hi, Renee, 2 minutes. It was unbelievable. So that was an amazing interview. And of course, I actually met my husband. I interviewed my husband. He had a new CD out, and I interviewed him, and we had so much in common. And afterwards, he was supposed to fly back to Ireland, and he did, but we talked for like 3 times a day, every day. So that has to be one of the top interviews.
Sure. Good answer.
Otherwise, the hands will come back in, and no, it truly is.
Oh, they're the hands.
There they are. I also interviewed Sting, and that was tremendous. There was actually a woman that I worked with in Chicago who loved Sting, and actually she wanted to become a radio host. And I said, let's just do it. Who do you want to interview? I'll help you. I'll help you produce the interview, because I love helping people realize their dreams and their goals. And she said, I would give anything to interview Sting. I said, well, I'll call his people. Right? That's the whole thing. Like, if you don't ask, you'll never know. So I called up Sting's agent and I said, we'd like to do an interview. He had a new musical coming out, and The Last Ship, and we got the interview. And he came in and he sat down, and I'll be honest, the first question I asked, I said, I had my little notebook, and I said, so this new musical, talk about your inspiration for the musical. And I think he had answered that question like 500 too many times. And he went like, and I was like, okay. So I put my notebook down and I said, I know that you love Shakespeare, and I know that you have sung some of those old Dowland songs and some of those Shakespearean era pieces of music. Let's talk about that. And he was like, all right, that's awesome. Now you've got me, But yeah, so just, I feel so lucky to talk to some of the most amazing humans in the world, and the stories are epic,
And who are some of your favorite interviewers?
Ooh, well, Terry Gross for sure. I mean, she became a real hero and mentor, both on and off the air. And to this day, I still admire her interviewing skills. Krista Wessel at All Classical Portland is just tremendous, She's an amazing interviewer, and I feel like we learn a lot from each other at the station all the time, and that's really, really exciting.
And of course, Krista is the host of On Deck with Young Musicians, one of my personal favorite shows at Old Classical, because you guys seek out and talk to local young musicians. I love the show. I listen to it every Saturday, and it's always, especially exciting when a Metropolitan Youth Symphony student is featured.
Yeah, I know. I love that program, and it's a hard show to do, and I give Chris a lot of credit because she worked so hard to do it. There are not a lot of radio stations in America that are, doing that, and that kind of high production piece to shine a spotlight on our young people. But they are our future, our next generation. And I'll tell you what, I've learned more from the young people that have been interviewed on that program than I ever imagined possible. It's inspiring to hear what they're thinking and how they're making music and navigating this world.
And you know what, for me, often, that's how I get to know many of our students, because in rehearsals, our time is very limited, and we're performing challenging and exciting music, so we just dive right into the music and we work together, and there's a lot of, community and excitement. But I don't get to talk to them about, their other passions or their, school interests, and it's often through On Deck with Young Musicians that I get to know them a little bit better. So I'm very thankful for that. Yeah. What makes an interview good?
I always say listening. Listening, and you've shown it even in this interview today. I know that you have your questions, and you're so prepared, and you've been so prepared in all of your hangouts, which is amazing. That's why you're so successful as a conductor and a musician, because preparation is key.
Thank you.
And you have the ability to listen and say, oh, actually, that's something I wanted to talk about. I'm just going to skip. So I think preparation, listening, and flexibility.
Yes. There is an element of, especially when you're doing something live, that's very similar to performing on stage, right? Like anything can happen. Your microphone for Skype might not be working, and then you have to fix it.
Yes, that's right. Like, here we are. This is live performance, and this is reality.
And speaking of interviews, you've been conducting a series of interviews called the State of the Arts. Would you mind sharing about that with our viewers?
Yeah, when COVID-19 happened, right, when the pandemic really became a global health crisis, and we saw how our region was hit, especially our arts partners, we got together and said, wow, we really need to tell the story. We need to make sure that not only when we're able to get back in the hall, we're there to support. And in some cases, we will be there to resuscitate. But my hope is that we can all maintain a level of existence now, and then it's support and just sort of bringing everybody back up. And that's our goal. With the State of the Arts, we needed to make sure that there was great transparency in the need and in the challenges. We also wanted to feature the innovations because, let's face it, artists are creative, right? And are extraordinary people who find really great ways to connect, like your virtual hangouts. So we wanted to shine a spotlight on the innovation as well. And we wanted to chronicle the times. I really believe that because this is unprecedented, and I don't think any of us have ever experienced anything like it, it's going to be important to document what happened and how we were affected as a community and as an arts ecosystem. So that's this thinking behind the State of the Arts. I know I'm so grateful, Diana Scoggins, you're one of your co-leaders there at MYS, participated and provided a really amazing written article. And there are follow-up on-air interviews that occur sometimes on Saturday evenings and now on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. So we're hearing from our arts leaders so that they also, again, share in the microphone and have a platform to talk about what's happening with their organization and their artists.
And have you had any surprising things that you've learned by doing this series, or anything unexpected that you've encountered, or maybe common themes or threads?
I would say the most amazing theme for me is the resilience. And when I think about music, I think about truth, right? It's truth. Music is truth, and you can't lie while improvising. Everything music is about. It's just the honesty, right, and the authenticity. So I really believe we're hearing truthful interpretations, creative interpretations of our times from our artists. And so while that wasn't surprising, it was powerful, the resilience and the innovation and all of it that's come along with this. The biggest surprise for me on the flip side has been the too big to fail myth, right? I think a lot of us think that because the Oregon Symphony is our Oregon Symphony, or the Portland Opera, or the Portland Art Museum, that they're so big that there's no chance that they would ever go away. And the fact is that's not true. And that's why we do need to invest in those big organizations, because they do affect the entire ecosystem. So when I look at who's been hardest hit, some of the smaller organizations, they're nimble, they can cut, they can pivot. But these bigger flagship organizations in our community are very important. And I think going forward, we need to think about a new model in order to ensure the wellness and the health of our entire arts community. And that includes thinking about the big ones too. I think we all think, oh, they're fine. Well, what would happen if we lost our big five? It would be devastating, not only to our arts community, but to our economy, our entire economy.
It's impossible to overstate the impact that these organizations have, and that the people who make up those organizations have. And over the course of the last 6 weeks, we've had many members of the Oregon Symphony come through this show, or MYS virtual hangouts. And each one of them, they're not only spectacular artists, but they're just so kind and generous and giving. And their individual impact on their, neighborhoods, their networks of people, is really phenomenal, and they bring so much joy and inspiration to all of us. And I agree, it's easy to start taking those people and those organizations for granted.
Yeah, yeah,
And
we can.
yeah, so this is eye-opening, and I hope that as we move, forward, and as things gradually go back to normal, whatever
Right.
that means,
Whatever that is, yes.
that we will carry those lessons with us. Uh, Suzanne, let's go back to the really important. Let's get back to the beef of this interview, and that's
Oh,
your two truths and a lie,
oh yes, that's
or
hard.
the tofu of the interview.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
for those of you who just joined, or if you are watching but you haven't voted, now is the time to reveal which of these three statements is a lie. So, if you have not voted, go ahead and do it now. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, just type in the letter for which of these three statements you believe is a lie. I'm just going to read them real quick. Statement A: Suzanne landed a plane when she was 7 years old. Statement B: soprano Jessie Norman gave Suzanne her big break in radio. Statement C: Suzanne started cooking at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, France in 2005. And before we reveal your first truth, Suzanne, let me just take a quick look at the voting here
So curious.
and see what people are thinking. We have, looks like we're trending C. People, it looks like the trend here is that people think that C is a lie. Let's go ahead and reveal one of your truths.
Okay, I did land a plane when I was 7 years old.
Okay, so you're gonna have to talk more about that, please.
Oh, now, okay. Long story short, my father was a pilot when I was growing up, and he and his friend were flying a small plane, a Cessna, and I would sit on his lap. And when my dad would fly, the way he landed would cause the plane to make this high-pitched sound that I always waited for, and I would clap, and then we would descend and make the landing. So this day, his friend was flying pilot, my dad was the co-pilot, and I was on my father's lap, and we started to descend, and I think what had happened is he put it into some sort of autopilot mode that didn't allow for that high-pitched noise to go off. So we were descending, we were going down, and we were literally about to hit the ground, and I grabbed the yoke and yanked it up, and we went back up in the air. And the poor man was like, "What is going on here?" And my dad just started laughing. We had a radio back in. We're circling back around, sorry about that. And we went back around, and this man said, "Well, you know what then? Let her land the plane." And so with my dad guiding me, I took the plane down. I heard the high-pitched noise. I clapped, and we made it to the ground.
Okay, so hold on. So when you yanked that thing, and do you remember, how did you feel? Were you scared? Were you surprised? What?
I felt great. I felt like, vindicated or something. It was just like, we're not doing this. This is not the right way. This is not how I learned. This is not how we do it. And I just pulled the plane back up, and that little plane went whipped right back up into the air. And that poor man thought, what is going on? Oh my goodness.
Was that your first and last time doing that?
It was pretty much, my dad just warned everybody. This is how you need to land the plane. Otherwise, we might have an incident.
Wow, that's really cool.
Funny.
Well, okay, so that leaves two statements up on the screen, and one of them is a lie. So, Suzanne, let's reveal your second truth, please.
My second truth is soprano Jessie Norman gave me my big break in classical radio.
Okay, will you please share about that?
Yeah, I was working at Aspen Public Radio, and I was really covering the Aspen Music Festival, which is an incredible festival. And so I would see all these artists coming through, and I was a rookie. I was so young, and I'd see Yo-Yo Ma, and, "Hi, I'd love to interview you," and and he was very kind. But I'm his people. I'm looking like, how is she? No, keep moving. So I kept asking, and Jessie Norman was one of my like top, I wanted to interview her. And I was on the radio and I was hosting and I was playing the music and I had requested the interview and our people said no. But she was listening from her hotel in Aspen and she called the radio station and said, "That woman on the radio, she asked for an interview and I will grant her an interview if she can be at my hotel in 15 minutes, So, I put on Mahler and ran out of the, station. That'll take care of 90 minutes, I'll be back. And I went to her, hotel room. She gave me my first interview. It was exhilarating. I'll never forget. She said her heart always takes her back to Bach. Whenever she feels lost, whenever she comes back to Bach and she sings that, and I'm writing it down with my little recorder. It was an amazing interview. And the next night, she gave a really important talk. It was at the festival, and it was broadcast. And she said my name on the stage. She said, "If we will support public broadcasting and journalists like Suzanne Nance," and I could have gone to heaven right then. I was like, Jessie Norman just said my name on the stage. She said, this is what we need to do. We need to support this kind of broadcasting. We need to support this kind of arts and culture content. And so once she gave me, once it was Suzanne Nance has interviewed Jessie Norman, Yo-Yo Ma, everybody called up, Joshua Bell. Next thing I know, Emerson String Quartet, they were all coming in my door, and it was pretty amazing. I got a full-on segment with John Corleano and all the greats. So it was life-changing.
That's so cool. And so you interviewed her, you had your tape recorder, and then you go back, you edit, you mix it, and you put it on the air. How was that part of the process?
Yeah, so I took my little recorder, it's probably much bigger then because everything's gotten better and smaller, and brought it back, loaded it up into the computer. I edited the piece and got it on the air probably later that night. I did a thing called Festival Minutes, and every day it was just, interview. So I became a bit of a machine at learning how to take the highlights of what people said to make them sound great, but also to drive the important messages of each artist home.
That is such a cool story. How about your lie? Is there any truth at all in that lie? Or because I know your Sunday brunch show has to do with food.
Yeah. Yes, I love food. I love to cook, and that is a dream. I would love to study cooking at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, France, or with one of our star chefs here in Pacific Northwest. I love food, and I love how it brings people together, again, around the table. That's always the thing for me about bringing people together to celebrate the things that make us human: food, music, great conversation. So philosophy, those things.
Do you have a favorite dish to make? Or something like if you want to impress somebody, like that's your go-to?
Do I make a chicken fricassee. That is probably my go-to, we can make it and let it sort of evolve on its own, and like marinate. And then you put it on the table with some rice and, and just let people help themselves family style. And I do love a good fricassee.
Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing those. So now we know the truth about Suzanne Nance. And we're pretty much out of time, but the great thing about these shows is that we didn't have a hard stop. So I'll take a couple more minutes of your time, Suzanne, that you've been so generous with already. There is a segment that we do on this show that has become my favorite segment, and it's called Sound Advice. And this is where I ask our amazing guests the following question. If you could go back in time and find 14, 15-year-old Suzanne Nance, maybe in high school, about to do Pippin, what advice would you give yourself? And that's our sound advice segment. And for that, I move your little Skype screen into the MYS commencement podium. So you'll get to see that later.
My gosh, that's so great. Okay. Well, I think it's a great question. And, I think one of the things I would say to my younger self is to be bold, be brave, and to maybe navigate the world a little more unapologetically. I think sometimes I worried so much about what other people thought that I took maybe a little bit longer to find my true north, to find my voice and to be, work with my convictions and to stick with it and feel that that was okay. So I think I would go back and say, you know what, enjoy this time and be who you are and be true to yourself and don't apologize for it and be brave. If somebody asks you to sing or play, do it. I mean, a lot of times I love to sing in my room and I love to sing on the stage, but if I were just at, a friend's house or something, they'd say, oh, Suzanne, you sing, could you sing? And I'd be like, oh, no, I should have just turned around and just started singing and got them to sing with me. So I think that, I would really encourage your amazing young people that you work with all the time, to just be true to yourself and know that you are extraordinary. And what you have to say, you will say it unlike anyone else. And so it is worth saying how you want to say it. And the world is going to be better because you have done that.
That is beautiful, and that is sound advice. And finally, Suzanne, is there anything that you would like to plug? Anything coming up that we can all look forward to? Maybe on all classical or in any of the things you're doing currently?
Mother's Day is this Sunday, so we'll have a Mother's Day Sunday brunch. And I've asked people to call in sentiments for mother figures in their lives. And so I hope to drop them throughout the show, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Sunday. But I would encourage everyone to join us at All Classical Portland. We have 250,000 people who listen locally every week and millions more online from over 125 countries now. And so it has become a gathering place. I'm really proud that we're one of the top 3 radio stations in the country from Portland, Oregon. And that is because we have such amazing musicians here. We have amazing artists. We have amazing people like you, Raul, contributing to our community, and all of your young people who make our place such a vibrant place to live and breathe and explore. So I'm really proud of All Classical Portland, and please know that we are here for you, and we're going to continue to rally around our musicians and our artists in the weeks and months and years ahead, and we will get through this together, and it will be the arts that help us through this. So know that All Classical Portland is available. And as we said earlier, in terms of inclusivity, everyone is welcome.
Yeah. And you guys, this is a listener-supported radio station. So go to their website and give. It really...
My favorite person.
It really is very important. And, we all have like Netflix memberships or whatever, $10-15 a month. Get yourself one of those for All Classical. Make a recurrent donation. It's the easiest way to do it, and you don't have to think about it, and you know that you're helping.
Yeah, and now, if you have kids at home, or if you have siblings maybe who might enjoy ICANN, check out icanradio.org too, because it's a lot of fun. Put your devices other than that away and just listen. I think what a wonderful time to be able to do that as we get through this.
Absolutely. Suzanne, you've been such an amazing guest. I've had so much fun talking to you. Thank you for singing for us. Thank you for sharing your story and your stories. And we look forward to hearing you on the radio and Sunday for Mother's Day brunch and, all year long. So thank you again. It was great talking to you. We're very thankful.
Such a pleasure. You're amazing. You're an inspiration, Raul.
Oh, thank you. And I cannot let you go without saying that somebody here in the comments is saying that your dog Coco has things to say, and we shouldn't end the interview until Coco gets a little
Should I grab
spotlight.
I
think we all need to see Coco.
Okay, let me see if I can find her.
Yeah, this is a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, she was practicing.
Here she comes.
She was practicing, but now...
Oh, wow.
Who is that? Who Who's that?
Hi,
You
Coco.
want MYS practicing, and
She is lovely
thank you. She plays the recorder.
and fluffy.
She's a mini poodle, and she's been with me. This dog has gone to more rehearsals and has, been under the piano during more musical adventures than I don't know many other dogs. She's my little partner in crime.
Does she sing along with you ever?
If I'm flat, which I never am that old, or if I'm singing very high notes, she does chime in. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Hey, it's music making with somebody you love, so I'll put that on the good column.
I'm with you.
Thank you, Suzanne. It's so nice talking to you, and
Thank
thank you
you.
to your very kind collaborative pianist off
Desmond.
of the screen. And we'll be in touch. Talk to you later.
Thanks for all you do. Thanks.
Thank you to Suzanne Nance, President and CEO of All Classical Portland. Thank you to all of you for listening. Now, before I end the stream, I have something very, very important to share with you. I told you about this yesterday. And today, this afternoon, at 6 p.m., in less than 1 hour, a very important event is happening online by our friends from 45th Parallel Universe. This is a live stream of a true live performance, a true live collaborative remote performance where musicians are actually going to be playing at the same time together. This is groundbreaking, and it's a must-see online event. And to tell you a little bit more about that, I have a video that Ron Blessinger made for our MYS students and for everybody else listening. So please check this out, and after that I'll tell you a little bit about my guests next week.
Hey, MYS players, this is Ron Blessinger from 45th Parallel Universe, and I'm also a violinist of the Oregon Symphony, and I'm here to tell you that this Friday at 6 o'clock, my group is doing a really cool experiment with online technology. That's this Friday, 6 p.m. We're going to be live streaming on Facebook and YouTube a really cool performance of our group. We're calling ourselves the Portland Social Distance Ensemble. We're going to be playing In C by Terry Riley, and it's going to be live. And the thing that makes this cool is that we're all playing from our homes remotely. So that's requires some really innovative technology, and should be a really fun time. So hope you join us. Bye.
You guys check that out. It's happening again in less than 1 hour. Go to Facebook or Google 45th Parallel, and you'll find a link to watch that live. Now, next week, we have another amazing lineup of guests. Tuesday, May 12th, Dominic Seldis is the principal bass player of the Concertgebouw Orchestra. He's going to be our guest, and this is going to be a morning edition of the Hangouts. Dominic is in Amsterdam, and so it's going to be 8 p.m., I think, his time. 11 a.m. here in Portland, Oregon, Pacific daylight time, Pacific time. 11 a.m. on Tuesday, Dominic Seldis. Wednesday, May 13th, Robin Bollinger, all the way from Boston. She's a violinist and a member of the self-conducted chamber ensemble A Far Cry. Thursday, May 14th, David Schiff, Portland-based composer, and he is just one of my favorite people in the world. And at MYS, we had the incredible fortune to perform his Concerto for Jazz, Violin, and Orchestra just a couple of months ago with the amazing Regina Carter as our guest soloist. So we're going to be talking to Mr. Schiff Thursday, and then Friday, 1 week from today at 4 p.m., Casey Bozel, violinist and a host, or the host of her podcast, Keep Classical Weird. So join us again next week for another round of amazing guests. And that's our show. So thank you for watching. Go check out 45th Parallel today at 6 p.m., less than 1 hour. I'll be there. See you there. Bye.